Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin and starting off with the Bitcoin rainbow chart. As you can see here, we have come back down into this still cheap zone. And something I've noted many times is that each halving cycle we go up in one of these logarithmic regression bands. So you can see this first one, we're in the fire sale zone. This is how blockchaincenter.net has it. Not affiliated. Second one, the buy zone. Third one, accumulate. And then I've been wondering if the fourth halving we'd be in that still cheap zone. So the halving is supposed to be around April 22nd. Let's try to get as close to it as we can. And you can see that green box there, the light green box, shows us between 52 and a half and 68 and a half. So it'll be interesting to see if Bitcoin does fall within that range and what happens after, because you can see around the halving last time we had the major COVID dump before it and a couple little corrections before just going straight up. This is the first time that pre-halving Bitcoin has made new all-time highs. So I am curious what that means for the rest of the market. You can see here in the second halving, we dumped quite a bit from there. And even the first halving, there was another dump. So I do wonder if a decent sized correction is coming. We'll take a look at the charts, see where that may end up. And yeah, let's get over to the alt season chart. And as you can see, alt season, excuse me, excuse me there. Alt season, you can see we're still low on the chart on the yearly index. If we zoom out, maybe it's a good time to get in some alts. We'll take a look at an alt or two today. But when we are in true alt season, that's when some of the alts you may be holding could go 5, 10, 20x within a month and within a blink of an eye. So truly a great time to be in crypto if you're able to get or dollar cost average into any holdings when it's not alt season, when the prices are good. And if we just zoom in a little bit to the monthly, you can see we're kind of in this downward trend. I would expect it to come back down to here and then maybe we'll go up a bit. If we take a look at the crypto fear and greed index, look at these. I got it, man, you gotta love these advertisements on this site. Whatever the hell sucks those are. We are up in greed. We've been in greed, extreme greed for a while, and this is a chart looking at the last year. This spike right here and then fall off, that was the ETF approval. So ETF approved, Bitcoin, the price wicked up and then it tanked. And then obviously we made new all-time highs and then it's been going down a little bit. So I do see that it got up to 90 and we are just at prior levels before. Something to note though is that because our greed is only this high two other times before, I've been thinking there's two possibilities here. That one, I would like to see some accumulation. Sorry, let me turn the volume down on my phone. I would like to see some accumulation up in the greed area because when we have that, this is when Bitcoin made new all-time highs in 2020 from the 2017 all-time highs. The true top came later, like within 3-ish months or so. So I'm wondering if that's going to happen. Alternatively, when we had the mid-cycle top in 2019, we fell down and later had the COVID dump. And if you're wondering what that looks like, so this was that mid-cycle top. There's the COVID dump. That was that spike in greed. And then where greed was really high and accumulating, like I just showed you, that was over here, December of 2020, when we broke the 2017 highs. And then as you can see, we were up near the top in March. Going over to the charts, let's head on over to where we at right now. It's showing us the S&P. Let's head on over to Bitcoin. And so got above the all-time highs, got to about 74,000, I want to say. Let's zoom in a bit. Yeah, got pretty close to 74,000. We've come down a little bit. If we go to the weekly, and right now I have moving averages on, I could probably take those off, maybe show the relative strength index instead. So with the with Bitcoin, we're still above the 10 moving average, excuse me, on the weekly. We are still bullish in the RSI. So that's looking pretty good. And something to note is that when we are here again, you can see we had this mid-cycle top. This has been a stronger move than that. And the RSI is even comparable to what we had back here. So that's what Bitcoin's been doing. Again, taking a look at some of those dumps around the halving, you can see this COVID one. I do think this was sort of a special situation for obvious reasons, just black swan event, 62% overall. But if we just do the bodies of the candles, you could say somewhere, between 40 and 50%. If you look at the second halving, we dumped from wick to wick around 40%, so that's interesting. And then the first halving, let's try to zoom in here as much as we can. I'm sure it'd show more on the daily, but we'll try to catch as much of it, 20%. So going back to right now, if we had any sort of correction, here's a couple areas I'm looking for. So you can see that we have these fibs right here and the fib right at around the 618. We have a lot of structure as well. So I am wondering if we're going to get somewhere near this 42,000 level at worst. If we go into the yearly, I think it tells us a better story. We have a lot of structure up here at this fib, which is at around 51,000, and that one is the 786. So yeah, the 786 fib right here, and a correction from the high to that level be about 30%. So I don't think that'd be a bad thing. Still macro bullish. And something else to note is that if we take off the RSI and add on the moving averages again, and look at the moving averages on the daily, something to note is we'd be around that 100 moving average. So Bitcoin on the daily, we're on the daily time frame here, still has yet to go down to the 50 moving average. Some structure there, so maybe 60,000 will have a brief stop, but I'm looking to see if it gets down to this 52, 53 level at most. A couple other charts I'm looking for to signal if it's the end of the alt season or this crypto run. So this is the tether dominance chart, and if we zoom out and draw this upward ascending trend line here, you can see that we touch this point when we have these tops. This was the 2017 top. This was the 2019 mid-cycle top where we spike dumped off. This was the top before the COVID dump. Now, if you look at this top right here, we stayed on that trend line. Actually, let me take this off and add on the RSI again, because there's something important here I want to show you guys. So we stayed on this line, and check out the RSI, how it stayed below the 50. Once it got above the 50, mid-May is when Bitcoin started to sell off. Here, the true top of Bitcoin in 2021, it peaked there. We had a double top. So one of the most bullish looking charts, in my opinion, is this one because the RSI is so low. Now, these things, as you see in other parts of this chart, can violently move up very, very fast. So maybe we get above the 50 very fast, even though we are deeper on the weekly RSI than we've ever been. Going back to May, in the middle of May, where were we? Sorry for all the lines here. In the middle of May, that's right here. So that's when we dumped off. So again, looking at the RSI on the tether dominance, that's why I'm wondering if maybe, let's throw this on out, if maybe we may have a bull run up until the summer, somewhere around 120 to 150,000 Bitcoin, maybe. Going back to the rainbow chart, let's say we had a summer top, and I'll just go to middle of June around there. Now, as you can see, when we've had these peaks on this logarithmic regression band, now log scale goes up by factors of 10, if you're wondering. And Bitcoin, because it does have diminishing returns, which, by the way, isn't a bad thing, but instead of getting 2,000 multipliers back here, you're getting a 5 multiplier maybe, or a 3 multiplier from where Bitcoin is right now. And so in between each halving or bull runs yield a little bit less overall profits. However, still great profits to be made. So when you hear me say diminishing returns, it's not a bad thing. There's still lots of money to be made. As you can see here, we were way up in those red zones. Last time we only got up into this light red zone, orange zone. So I'm wondering, if we top, let me go to mid-June, mid-late June. I'm looking between that orange and the light red box, somewhere between 120 to 210,000, somewhere in that range. I know it's a big range, but if we do get above 120 by the summer, or even during the summer, Bitcoin gets above 120K. I know it seems ridiculous, but then to me that'll say that the end of this cycle, or the blow off top is soon coming. So just like we had here and here. Now it'll be interesting. We had these two scenarios before and after the first halving. Might we get something like this? That would be interesting. As you can see, only in 2017 did we have that singular top and then come down and had a lower top. Here we had a double top, a higher double top, a higher double top. So only here did we have a singular top. So, maybe we're topping out right now and then going to have a bigger top later. I don't believe that as much, and I'll tell you why in a minute here. I'm wondering if we'll get a 2017 style deal here where we top out mid-June, somewhere around there, or at least in the summer, and then come down and then maybe find the bottom in 2026. Now, the reason I say that, before I go one of the last Bitcoin charts, is the Fed is talking about rate cuts, and I'm sure you're wondering what that has to do to crypto. And as you know, all markets are tied together, for better or worse. These red lines are when the Fed cuts rates after holding it higher for longer. Yes, we had this black swan event. As you can see, the stock market still went up a little bit, but then had a huge crash. People were talking about a recession happening anyways, even before COVID was going to be a thing. So take from that what you will. But here in the dot-com bubble and the great financial crisis, look where the rate cuts were. And they were pretty darn near the top. So I am wondering if by the time they cut rates, that the top will be very close. These first rate cuts are also within a month or two of when the yield curve uninverts, for any of you guys who watch or pay attention to the yield curve. So right now it is inverted, and after it uninverts, the bottom of the market tends to be a year and a half to 2 years after the fact. So we're not uninverted yet, and who knows how long we'll stay down here. The more we stay down here, the more markets can run. So once we uninvert, though, myself, not financial advice for you, I'm looking to take profits on various assets. So just some things to keep in mind. Watch for when the Fed cuts rates, because that could signal the top in local markets. Lastly, going to Bitcoin dominance. This is a chart that, in my opinion, will really tell me if this bull run is over. And that is when the Bitcoin dominance tanks like it did here. And you can see the dates at the very bottom. Again, look at this, mid-May. It tanked leading up to mid-May, and really did that like within a month or 6 weeks. And here, mid-December to early January, guys, I remember January 8th. It is seared in my memory because I had altcoins like Tron, District OX, Cardano, some others. They were looking amazing, and then all of a sudden just the bottom fell out of the whole altcoin market after this day. It was crazy. So you do want to sell going up into the top or near the top. And for myself with crypto, I do try to dollar cost average in during the low times as well as I can into some of the altcoins. We'll take a look at a couple here. I'll show you some things I look for. But when Bitcoin dominance tanks and goes to this low 40 percentile, you'll see on the right, that's been time to get out the last two times. And when it tanks, it may only take 2 weeks to 8 weeks, somewhere in that time frame. So you can see here that, let's put on the logs so these match up. You can see here that maybe dominance has a little bit higher to go and then tank. It would have to do a lot in a short period of time. And as you can see, it does when it truly is alt season. So I'm waiting to see if that's going to happen. Just taking a look at a couple alts and things I look for personally. Chainlink, one of the most popular alts. So when you go on TradingView, you can take a look at any buy or sell signal. And when we see a bottom and good accumulation, plenty of buy signals, even on the monthly showing up, to me, that's when it's time to buy. I am not chasing right now and buying many of these alts. As you can see, even stuff like Link has a sell signal. It might be getting under their weekly 20 moving average. So maybe one more big correction is coming for altcoins as well as Bitcoin. And if so, I might think of getting in. Don't just buy the red candles and when things are historically low, because as you can see in bear markets, things can go lower. So maybe this is just a large correction phase, and maybe we'll get some good times to buy. I'd wait for confirmation. As you can see here, and a lot of alt charts show this, when we have lower highs in the RSI, higher highs in the price, it's bearish divergence. So it's not surprising to me. A couple ways you can look at where to buy alts. We could start here with the RSI. We have the fibs, and you draw it out from the high to the low. Take your fib when we're not at an all-time high. This is a good thing to do. Put it on log scale, and so you can read the fibs better. But also throw on those moving averages, because the prices honor those fib levels and the moving averages so much. So you can see here, the body's on the 10. We have these 20 moving averages. And guys, I'm not trying to just shill or talk about Link. You can use this for any of the other altcoins. But if it got through this, here we have structure. Here we have the 50 and the 100 moving average right over here at the 382 fib. So to me, those are a couple ways I look at it. Some other ways I look at it too, you can throw on some volume charts. And if you see a spike in volume and price starting to turn around in the opposite direction, that's a good thing, because that means volume's helping the price go up, and that it's not just manipulation, but it's actually a lot of people, a lot of money coming in and buying that asset. So just some things to look for. Ethereum, same thing. We have these moving averages on the weekly. We're not even near. If you want to be more aggressive, you can go to the daily, and the moving averages change, obviously, because it's on the 50 daily moving average. And here it's on this fib, the 618. It's on that 618 fib, and could go down to the 0.5. And if you look at that, we have a little structure. I like to see more structure, but we also have the 100 moving average. If things got crazy bad, for me, the last line of defense is the 200 on the weekly. And that's only because historically, I could take a look at some of the top stocks here. Historically, you could see, let me blow up that 200 week moving average to prove this point. So that 200 week moving average, more often than not, tends to be the last line of defense. If it gets below it, even for Microsoft, that's very bad, but you can see that's like the best time to buy. Even stuff like Apple. Again, we're on the weekly here. Look how many times it honors that 200 week moving average. These are for the strongest stocks in the world. Sometimes they go below, but again, that's great financial crisis. That's dot-com bubble, and historically good times to buy. Google, so 200 weekly moving average, bringing it back to to Bitcoin and altcoin and things like that. 200 weekly moving average. Look at that. We came down to that price a couple times and came underneath it. So great times to buy, great times to buy on the turnaround on those buy signals if you see those green dots. So if there's an asset you like and believe in, the 200 weekly moving average has been a great time to buy if you get it at or underneath it. But again, assets, any asset can turn to hot garbage too. So make sure that whatever you're buying, when there's fear in the markets, when things are oversold, I could throw on the RSI, it would show it's oversold. You guys know that. But when there's fear in the markets, when things are oversold, when we're under the 200 at or under, even the 100, those tend to be really good times to buy. You can see here, man, when Bitcoin was at this 100, I remember people talking about how this was going to be a bounce and let me pull this up here, how we were going to have a head and shoulders. And, we had a Quasimodo shoulder over here. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend. And if there's any altcoins that you would like for me to take a look at, I do videos on altcoins available on Robinhood and Coinbase. Happy to do some charting for you guys, see if we can find some good deep value. Or likewise, I do videos on stocks as well, because with how volatile crypto is, I do like to take profits if I'm able to when I'm near the top, and then put into some strong stocks when it makes sense and let that money work for me. So hope you guys are enjoying the content and that you're all doing well and have a wonderful weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.